World Bank insists inflation pushed 7 million Nigerians below poverty line. Governor Wike tells President Buhari to take responsibility for insecurity in the country. In international news, U.S. President Joe Biden, Russian President Vladimir Putin begin their highly anticipated summit in Geneva. And in sport, Sierra Leone beat Benin Republic to reach finals for the first time in 25 years.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. A new report by the World Bank says 7 million Nigerians were pushed below the poverty line by inflation in 2020. The bank's senior external affairs officer for Nigeria, Mansur Nasir, says it is important for the federal government to protect the economy against a much deeper recession by putting in place economy-friendly policies for a strong recovery. Chaudhry says rates this year's inflation as the highest in 4 years because food prices accounted for more than 60%. World Bank lead economist for Nigeria and co-author of the NDU, Marco Henderson, says a policy consensus and expedited reform implementation on exchange rate management, monetary policy, trade policy, fiscal policy, and social protection would help save lives, protect livelihoods, and ensure a faster and sustained recovery. The River State Governor, Wike, says it is unconstitutional and not right for President Buhari to put his constitutional responsibility of securing lives and property of Nigerians on state governments. Wike says President Buhari is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces and should not declare that state governors are totally responsible for the safety of their citizens. The governor says that statement depicts that the APC-led government lacked strategies on how to tackle insecurity in their country. Wike says if the APC-led government can no longer fulfill its promises, it should say so. The federal government has confirmed that social microblogging app Twitter has written to ask for dialogue concerning the controversial suspension of its operations in the country. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, confirmed the letter and says the federal government is open-minded, but that Twitter must work towards a lifting of the suspension. The minister reiterated the government's position that it would not tolerate any platform that would be used to destabilize the country. He said Twitter and other platforms must register as Nigerian companies, obtain license from the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, and pay taxes. More COVID-19 vaccines are coming in for Nigeria by August, and this time the federal government expects nearly 4 million doses of the Oxford-AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine through the Global Access Facility, COVAX. Executive Director of the National Primary Health Care Development Agency, Fawzal Shuaib, disclosed this during a media briefing in Abuja on Tuesday. Nigeria has so far received 4 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines from COVAX. Shuaib said 2 million of the targeted eligible Nigerians have so far received their first dose of the Oxford-AstraZeneca jab. Second dose vaccination is ongoing. The federal government, state governors, and some industry stakeholders from the Ministry of Agriculture have come together to review how favorable or otherwise are some policies and programs of the agricultural sector with a view to averting the looming food crisis that could arise from insecurity on farmlands. This was announced at the official session opening ceremony of the 44th National Council on Agriculture and Rural Development. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Ernest Umaki, says this platform will give way for an effective probe of the challenges in the agricultural sector and explore best approach to sustaining food security, employment generation, and wealth creation in the country. He says this review is to assess the effect of extant policies and programs, fine-tune the existing strategies and shape initiatives for agricultural development in the country. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Recovered Loot has intervened in the brewing crisis between the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON. AMCON claims some assets recovered from and forfeited by some allies of a former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Bizani Alison Maduke, belongs to the agency, while EFCC is doing all it can to prevent AMCON from getting the assets. Reports say EFCC is complaining that AMCON is moving to possess some of the assets already seized and forfeited by looters. AMCON says banks were already in possession of some of the assets before EFCC approached court to secure permanent forfeiture of the same assets.
Coming up, African stories. South Africa takes steps to tackle electricity crisis, eases restrictions on private power supplies. And later, international news. US President Joe Biden, Russian President Vladimir Putin begin their highly anticipated summit in Geneva.
You are watching ANN.
What's the difference between regular data and MTN data? I'll show you. With regular data, you get this. But with MTN data, you get moved right into the action, like this. And this. And this. And this. With MTN data, you don't just get more, you experience more. Need loads of data to live your dream? Turn it up on MTN, the reliable data network.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. South Africa's energy company, Eskom, has been deficient in providing adequate electricity for the country, and there have been restrictions on private energy suppliers, making it difficult for the nation to meet its electricity demands. Now, the government is easing those restrictions to tackle the electricity crisis. Correspondent Angela Coppola reports.
It exceeds calls from business to increase the threshold to at least 50 megawatts and allows the so-called embedded generation plants to provide electricity to the national grid and also to sell it to third parties.
It really does open the door in the short term, and by that I mean about 18 months, to about 5,000 to 6,000 megawatts of new generation coming on stream at no cost to the taxpayer, at no cost to the treasury, no guarantees required from government. So this is a huge step forward.
The mining sector is raring to go. It's a heavy user of electricity.
The supplements what Eskom can't maintain and keep on the grid and need to expand. And the mining sector, I mean, we buy between 15 and 25% of Eskom's generation capacity. So, and we will keep on buying that. This just gives us, people are talking about 20 to 30% leeway.
Mining company Goldfields announced in February that it would be building a 40 megawatt plant at its South Deep operation near Johannesburg.
We will be sticking with our 40 megawatt plant, but we'd be foolish not to explore opportunities to take advantage of lifting the cap. We obviously need to link this to our energy requirements and phase it in over a period of time. And we will be looking at opportunities in this regard. As much as we want to say it's about the mining sector, it's about the country. I know the mining sector's got about 1.6 gigawatts, about 27 billion rands worth of expenditure waiting to go. That in itself is a good impetus into the economy.
We need to be just a little cautious. It has not yet been gazetted into law. and it's in the hands now, I guess, of the DMRE and NERSA to take that step to bring it into law.
This move by the government is set to be a game changer, provided all the regulations are in place and the red tape is reduced.
Kenyan authorities are taking steps to eradicate trachoma, an infectious disease that is a leading cause of blindness in Africa. At least 7 million people in central Kenya are at risk for the disease, as VOA's Brenda Molinia reports from Nairobi.
Elizabeth Partoti patiently waits for her turn to be operated on. She has walked for tens of kilometers to benefit from an outreach program that she hopes will restore her sight. Elizabeth is one of thousands of people in Kenya who have either lost or are gradually losing their sight due to trachoma.
My eyes have been bothering me because I've grown old. The eyelashes are always entering inside my eyes, causing me a lot of pain. My granddaughter's been helping, removing the eyelashes physically, using her fingers, but it's very painful.
Trachoma, an infectious disease, is caused by a bacteria that attacks the inner surfaces of the eyelids. Dr. Peter Ekwom, an eye surgeon who has been carrying out trachoma surgeries in Kajiado County, says sight loss from trachoma is preventable but irreversible if not treated in time.
Every time you blink, the eyelashes rub on the corneas, and with the time they peel off the first layer of the cornea, and then which results to an ulcer. Now the ulcer is very painful, but at the end of the day, the ulcer will heal and leaves a scar.
That repeated scarring of the eye's cornea eventually impairs vision and often leads to irreversible blindness. About 7 million people living in 12 central Kenyan counties where trachoma is endemic because of a dry climate and the pastoral and nomadic lifestyle of the communities. About 53,000 people are currently infected with the disease. Like other counties affected by trachoma, Kenya had wanted to eliminate it by 2020, the World Health Organization's target. The target date has now been moved to 2023.
So the way forward for the Kenya Trachoma Elimination Program is to clear the remaining trachoma trichiasis backlog, which stands at around 5,000 at the moment. That is 5,000 people who require urgent surgery to avert blindness in the 12 trachoma endemic counties.
But to eradicate trachoma, experts say people in areas prone to the disease must take greater precautions. Most of the communities at risk are nomadic, sometimes living in the same quarters as their livestock.
The flies breed because of the dung and the urine. And then because the flies are breeding, every time there is a discharge in a child's face, the bacteria is carried from the child to the mother.
Kenya's plans to defeat trachoma depend on donors to provide the money needed for detection, treatment, and prevention programs. Only with more contributions, Kenya says, will the country reach its goal of eliminating this terrible disease. Brenda Molinia for VOA News.
When we return, international news. U.S. President Joe Biden, Russian President Vladimir Putin begin their highly anticipated summit in Geneva. And later, sport. Sierra Leone beats Benin Republic to reach finals for the first time in 25 years.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. U.S. President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin have just wrapped up their first meeting since Biden took office. Each president is expected to give 7 news conferences on the meeting, for which expectations were low for any breakthrough. Both men have expressed the hope that their meeting in a lakeside Geneva villa can lead to more stable and predictable relations, even as they remain at odds over everything from arms control and cyber hacking to election interference and Ukraine. This meeting took place after Biden's participation in the G7 summit and the NATO conference. This is the new president's first foreign trip since taking office. The state of California is making a headway in its fight against COVID-19 after the most popular state in the United States fully reopened its economy amid dropping cases and vaccine eligibility expansion on Tuesday. Governor Gavin Newsom terminated the executive order on Tuesday that puts in place the stay-home order and the blueprint for a safe economy. He also phased out the vast majority of executive actions put in place since March last year as part of the pandemic response. After 15 months of public health restrictions in the form of capacity limits, physical distancing requirements, and mask mandates, California is now officially back to business as usual. Many, especially business owners, are upbeat and optimistic over the positive impact of reopening.
We've already moved forward mentally, and I'm just super excited to have the rest of the world embrace it. And I think business is going to start booming even more, and that's what we need, you know.
Including restaurants, bars, stores and concert venues are allowed to open at full capacity. The government has faced unprecedented pressure over restrictions that lasted more than 15 months, and now public health officials want to make sure to prevent any further potential outbreaks.
Public health realm 2 weeks ago were a little bit surprised when there was really kind of a push toward not masking in indoor spaces. You know, again, with the caveat, if everybody's fully vaccinated, you really probably don't have to mask indoors. The problem is we don't know who's vaccinated, and we can't even ask legally if you're vaccinated. I mean, people don't have to provide that information. So I don't think it was safe to walk into an indoor space with people that are unmasked.
Officials at China Manned Space Agency have announced that spacecrafts with 3 astronauts on board will be launched on Thursday from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China. The 3 astronauts are heading into space for the construction of China's space station.
Has his first space flight. China is preparing to launch its manned spaceship Shenzhou 12. Authorities briefed the press this morning. The 3 astronauts will fly to Tianhe, that's the core module of China's space station, and China plans to build its own space station by the end of next year.
The Shenzhou 12 manned space mission is the 4th mission in the key technology verification phase, also the first manned mission in the space station phase. The following objectives are set for the mission: astronauts' long-duration in-orbit stay, regeneration environment control and life support, extravehicular operations and in-orbit maintenance. Testing astronauts' search and rescue capability for the Dongfeng landing site for the first time. Comprehensive assessment will assess the functions of each system, and further examination on the level of matching and coordinating between systems, as well as accumulate experience for future missions.
Shenzhou 12's scheduled launch on Thursday will be the 3rd of 11 missions that are planned to complete construction of the space station. The 3 astronauts are Nie Haisheng, Liu Boming and Tang Hongbo. They'll stay in space for 3 months to help build the station. And the authorities say 2 extravehicular activities are planned. The flight team is said to be in good condition.
This will be the first manned mission in the space station phase, and it will be a relatively long one. Not only do we need to prepare for the flight to the core module, but we also need to carry out a series of key technology checks. This will bring more challenges. I will unite and lead the team and rigorously and carefully work to overcome all difficulties. We have laid solid foundations through our training, and we are confident that we can fulfill our mission.
Young South Koreans are showing a greater interest in starting their own businesses as the pandemic has left many fresh graduates jobless. Data from a global statistics firm show as of January, unemployment rate for South Koreans 15 to 29 years old was more than 13%, the highest of all age groups in the country. Most attendees at a recent annual entrepreneur franchise fair in Seoul were young people. There were more than 150 companies at the fair, mostly food and drink suppliers and distributors looking for people to manage on-demand restaurants, food kiosks, and help-yourself-style cafes. The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic has forced many enterprises in the country to cut recruitment, and many say they have no plans for recruitment until at least after June. That is part of the reason more young people are considering starting their own businesses.
Up next, sport. Sierra Leone beats Benin Republic to reach finals for the first time in 25 years. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Sierra Leone have secured a place at the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time since 1996 after yesterday's 1-0 victory over Benin in Conakry. The game was postponed twice because of COVID-19 test issues. Sierra Leone needed to beat Benin, who required just a point to seal a second place behind Nigeria. Somali Football Federation has sacked its Belgian Moroccan coach Abdelatif Salif after fewer than 3 weeks in charge of the team. SFF said in a statement the coach is undisciplined and unprofessional. Somalia are due to face Oman on Sunday in an Arab Cup qualifying match in Qatar. The winners of the one-off tie will progress to play in the Arab Cup, which will also be held in Qatar in November and December. The Arab Cup will serve as a test run for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And that is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great evening.